Why is your heart heavy? Not the weight of responsibilities, not the tiredness from work, the other weight, the one that sits deeper. Jean-Paul Marat died over 200 years ago, murdered in his bathtub, pen in hand, blood in the water. He carried many things to his death, but not that weight. What does it look like to die empty? Some people carry a heaviness their entire lives. It's not always visible. Sometimes they smile, sometimes they succeed, sometimes they seem fine, but the weight is there. Have you ever gone to sleep with something pressing on your chest? Not physical pain, something else. A heaviness that sits behind your ribs, in the hollow of your throat, and when you wake up, it's still there. The same pressure, the same quiet ache, like your heart is trying to say something, but you've learned not to listen to it. You know that feeling. Maybe you're carrying it right now. It shows up in the things you almost said, the things you almost did, the person you almost became. It's not regret exactly, it's more specific than that. It's the gap between what moves inside of you and what you let move through you, between your interior and your expression. Some people die with that gap intact, with everything they carried still locked inside. Others don't. Marat was one of these people. Jean-Paul Marat spent hours submerged in medicinal baths. His skin was ravaged by disease, chronic pain. The water was his only relief. And even there he wrote, not letters to friends, not personal reflections, accusations, demands, calls for accountability. Maybe you felt that too. The inability to rest even when your body begs for it, when stopping feels like betrayal, when your hands need to move, just need to do something. We're not here to say whether this was good or not, whether it was right, whether it was admirable. We're just observing. Even in the early moments of relief he had, his hands kept moving. Something inside of him demanded expression. Revolutionary fervor, some would call it, dangerous extremism, others would argue. But beneath the politics, there was something simpler. Marat couldn't carry what was inside of him without releasing it. Whether that was a gift or a curse, we don't get to decide. You know that feeling when something rises in your chest and you swallow it back down, when the words are right there at the base of your throat and you choose not to speak them, when your hands want to reach for something but you keep them still. Most people feel things moving inside of them: anger at injustices they witness that they experience themselves, grief over losses they've never processed, desires they've learned to suppress. And they make a choice, often without realizing it. They can build a container strong enough to hold it all, a life structured around keeping the interior contained. Or they can let it move through them, into words, into action, into the world. Neither is inherently better. Both have their own costs. The first creates stability, safety, the ability to function in a world that rewards composure. The second creates exposure, risk, the kind of life that makes some people uncomfortable. Marat chose the second. He looked at France and felt rage, not the kind you can rationalize away, not the kind you can moderate into polite discourse, the kind that demanded expression. So he expressed it. There's a version of goodness that's social. It means being the kind of person others can be around, the kind who doesn't make waves, who keeps the peace. It's a real kind of goodness. It has value. But there's another kind, the kind that's interior. It means being honest about what you actually feel, what actually moves in you, even when it's ugly, even when it's inconvenient. You've wanted to ask why, haven't you? Why me? Why this? Why does it have to hurt this way? But you don't, because asking feels like a weakness, like complaint, like breaking the unspoken rule that you're supposed to carry things quietly. So you stay quiet, you stay good in the way people can see. Most people can't hold both. Marat couldn't. He chose interior honesty over social comfort. It made him dangerous to some, inspiring to others, unbearable to many. We don't have to agree with his choices to see what they cost him. He lost comfort, he lost peace, he lost the ability to live without making enemies. But he gained something else. The weight of unexpressed intensity had to go somewhere. He chose to pour it out. Whether that trade was worth it, only he could say. and he's dead. You have your own questions, don't you? Things that weigh on your heart, calcifying, unanswered, squeezing down tighter and tighter and tighter until some days you can't even breathe, like something is rotting inside of you. It's there and it will always be there, no matter what you do, who you surround yourself with, or what pleasure the day brings. It's always going to be there. It hardens you, it turns you bitter, it turns you into someone you barely recognize. And unless you let it move, it will only grow heavier. Marat could have made his bath a sanctuary, a place where the pain stopped, where the intensity quieted, where he could just exist without the weight of what he felt about the world. He didn't. Not because rest is bad, not because comfort is weakness, but because for him, comfort functioned as postponement. The intensity he felt, it didn't go away when he suppressed it. It just waited. So he kept writing, even in the bath, even in pain, his hands moving across the page while the water cooled around him. The alternative was carrying it, and it felt heavier than expressing it. Charlotte Corday came to him under the pretense of needing help, and he let her in. She then killed him. Pen still in his hand, a letter against his chest. Jacques Louis David painted him there, the death of Marat. With his blood in the water and his work unfinished, his expression was left mid-sentence. The painting doesn't argue for him, it doesn't justify what he did or who he was. It just shows this is how he died. Still pouring out, still expressing, still unable or unwilling to stop. 200 years later, people still look at that same painting, not because Marat was good, not because his cause was righteous, but because something about the image resonates. A man who died mid expression, who never stopped releasing what was inside of him. Whether that's tragic, admirable, or unsettling depends on who's looking. But there's something else people feel when they look at it. Why does his death seem so peaceful? When someone dies having poured themselves out, something remains. Not legacy exactly, not in the sense of achievements or accomplishments, but a kind of residue, an emotional imprint. Marat's intensity didn't die with him. It got transmitted through the painting, through the memory of what he stood for. People still feel it, people still react to it, people still argue about it. What happens when the interior intensity finds exterior expression? It doesn't stay locked in one person. It moves outward. It touches other people. It continues. Whether that's good or not depends entirely on what's being expressed. Marat expressed rage, accusation, demands for accountability. And 2 centuries later, we're still debating whether that was justified, but not whether he carried it to his grave. He didn't. Why is your heart heavy? Maybe you know exactly why. Maybe you don't. But you feel it. The pressure behind your ribs, the quiet ache that doesn't go away. Some people carry something they haven't expressed, something that's been inside of them for years, growing heavier and heavier and heavier. Marat's life doesn't tell you what to do with that. He made choices that destroyed his social life. He made enemies and got killed at 50. That's not a role model. That's not a prescription, but it is a contrast. Some people die having never released what was inside of them. They carry it all the way to their end. Others die empty, not because they lived well, not because they were good, but because they poured it out. Marat poured out his into revolution, into accusation, into words that made people very angry at him. And when he died, whatever was inside of him was already gone. He didn't die carrying unexpressed weight. He died having already emptied himself. Most people won't die the way Marat died. They won't be assassinated, they won't be painted, they won't be remembered centuries later. But they might die carrying everything they never said, everything they never did, everything that moved inside of them but never moved through them. You wake up with it, You go to sleep with it, it sits there, waiting. Marat's life was violent, controversial, and unresolved. But when he died a light. Not at peace, not redeemed, not vindicated, just empty. The interior had become exterior. The weight had already been poured out. Some people die this way, others don't. Why is your heart heavy?